we'll do the Green Beret thing. We'll
Absolutely.
fuck it, we'll do it live.
Exactly, dude. You got to do a lot with a little bit. So
Hell yeah, dude. Lee, welcome, man. It's a pleasure to have you.
thank you for having me, Dan. I really appreciate you having me on here.
Absolutely. The world of social media is filled with just absolute fucking negativity, and imagining myself as a young Green Beret being bombarded by messages of your greatest days are over. There's no hope in serving. Afghanistan was the greatest thing you could have ever achieved. Why even try? Or even worse, if I was serving as a young paratrooper and those are the messages that I was hearing, why would I go to selection? Why would I want to try to achieve the impossible dream of becoming a Green Beret when everything is telling me that I'm a piece of shit for trying? And then I stumble upon your page and I'm like, this is what we need. Simplicity, positivity, and it's still humorous. And I want to dive into that. I want to dive into like, you're not somebody, you are vulnerable with some of the things you've gone through, and you've allowed yourself to say, look where I'm at now, but more importantly, look where I was, and you can do this too. So I want to dive into this, Lee. How did you build this? How, like, it's an anomaly to me because I grew up in a military where no one would ever in a million years would want to show that vulnerability
Yeah.
in hopes of inspiring somebody.
Well, I think I guess I was compelled to be able to do so. There's a lot of contemporaries in the non-military sphere that are showing incredible amounts of, for lack of a better term, bravery, bearing themselves to the world. And I don't think my story is in any way proprietary or unique. I've met a ton of guys who have come from similar backgrounds as I have had similar failures and similar successes. And it occurred to me along the way that perhaps victory was sweeter for me because it had taken so much to get there. America was the underdog. We were founded by illiterate farmers, and yet overcame. And so I think people kind of gravitate towards that. Oddly, like when growing up and stuff, I never, I guess, felt like an underdog. I never felt like things were going to work out or anything like that. And I'm not gonna lie and say, I was just this lost and barren soul or anything like that. But I absolutely made a ton of mistakes. Most of the mistakes of inaction, which I think are equally as grave, especially in the modern day where most people don't feel they receive the call to action. And in those mistakes, I was going down a very specific path, or I guess you could say an unspecific path.
Yeah.
Where it felt like it was leading to nowhere. It was drifting. It was, it was directionless, not lost, but directionless. And so I was actually, I used to do some small time acting.
Oh, really?
For online commercials. And the company that I was doing these really small gigs for, I mean, really small, getting $100 a gig, right? So nothing prolific by any stretch. I was about 300 pounds. I was sitting at a table. I was writing an episode of a food show that I wanted to do. I was a big guy, chubby guy, I love food. And I love different cultures and different languages. And I wanted to write a food show with me as the host, of course, being biased towards myself, where I wanted to travel the world and try these new foods in the spirit of, cultural discovery, something along the lines of like bizarre foods.
Yeah.
But I really wanted to hammer down on the cultural piece of it. I'm sitting there, writing a pilot episode for this company. And I got to thinking, I was like, man, I'm hungry. And then I thought, oh man, I really would love a steak right now. And I thought, well, when was the last time I had that? And my leadership, so I was in the reserves as a preface. My first sergeant and his wife was my detachment sergeant at the time. Took me out for steak during a drill weekend when poor little private didn't have any money to pay for his own steak. And they took me out and I got to thinking to myself, like, man, those people, they really care about me. And then it dawned on me like, man, there's not, outside of my family, there's not a whole lot of other people that care about me like that. I can't leave that. And I was the guy that was, oh, I'm going to get out. I hate this. This is stupid. It's dumb. I was like, man, I got to stay. And then, I was unhappy with myself and where I was going. I was like, well, what's the hardest thing I can think of to do? And SF was it. So set my mind to it. Lost about 80 pounds in the better part of a year. Still waited like 2 more years before I actually made the decision to go and cross over active duty side and sign the 18 X-ray contract. But I think so. The long and long of it is that the whole page was based on, it's all a decision. Every single thing we do, I believe, is based on decision.
Yeah.
Decision to act or not act. Again, having equally grave effects at certain times. And every single action I took from that moment put me on the path to being the man that I was telling myself that I was. And then at some point, you keep telling yourself, I'm this guy that can do it. And all you're really doing is try to prove it to yourself. It's not about the title you get. It's not about winning. It's not about making it in whatever. It's about being the guy that shows up and trying your best to aim up and be the guy that you told people you were going to be, especially if you're public about it, So I know it was a bit of a ramble, but
No, not at all. You're hitting on some things that are relatable to not just the senior guy on a team, because we find ourselves falling in these pitfalls. And look, through no fault of your own, you've been doing this job for how many years? You're a senior on the team. Biological clock is ticking. Not to, neglect the fact that you've been exposed to how many freaking chemicals, you've been exposed to how many blasts. Your metabolism slows down, your endocrine system slows down. You start putting on some weight, and you start accepting that, okay, well, I'm not the 20-year-old guy. I'm gonna settle for these few extra pounds. Like, and all that weighs on you physically and mentally.
absolutely.
How do you get back to the person you were? And for the younger guys that are wanting to get into this career field, they are wanting to become Green Berets, and they let themselves go. They didn't have the best upbringing. They were raised by TV and a culture of fast food. How do I achieve the impossible? And for the longest time, our own recruitment, our own messaging and themes were like, we don't want you,
Yeah.
heavy set kid. We don't want you. We don't need you. We want the athlete. We want the water polo guy. But there's a fight. There's a drive. There's a will inside everyone. I think so. And I think it just needs somebody like you to show, like, hey, I know where you've been. I was there. Maybe I didn't have a healthy relationship with nutrition and dieting. Maybe I didn't have, but what I did have is like this idea that just started festering in my head that I had to move. I had to lose this weight because I wanted to be something greater. And it comes through in everything that you're sharing right now.
Thank you.
But I want to ask you, like, it's one thing to dream and it's one thing to have an idea, but how did you first start putting that action into actually like physical motion? What was like the final catalyst, and how did you go about attacking this?
First, I want to say I'm honored by your words, so thank you for that. So there are myriad factors that contributed to the I guess the final straw, the straw that broke the camel's back. But there were 3, I guess, kind of major events in this particular summer. I just turned 21 years old, and I wanted to go skydiving. It was one of my life goals. I said, I'm going to do it. I recruited my best friend. He was going to go with me. I told my family, everyone was like, yeah, it's going to be this day. It's going to be at this time. You guys can watch me jump out of an airplane. It's going to be great. I'm a grown man now. And I have the fortunate or unfortunate personality flaw of being ridiculously early to everything. So I showed up to the skydiving center about 45 minutes before everyone else, just beaming, vibrating with energy, and walk inside and said, I'm here. I'm ready to jump out of one of your airplanes. all right, step on this scale. I said, perfect. They need to know how to balance this plane. It makes sense.
Yep.
I stepped on and they said, sir, you're 40 pounds over the weight limit. I said, gravity's got a weight limit? I didn't what? And
Oh!
oh man, it was so embarrassing. I called my friend, I called my family. I said, guys, the winds are too high. They're not jumping today. I was embarrassed.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I don't like lying like that, but I was so stricken by embarrassment of I can't believe that I'm this big that they literally won't let me jump out of a plane. Then later on that summer, the reserves told me that they were going to chapter me out. So I got flagged my very first day of my unit. PB1.
Oh shit.
Um, I I got flagged that very first day because I was, I think, 3 pounds over the weight limit. And they flagged me for PT, flagged me for height weight, and I didn't change for 3.5 years. By the regulation, I should have been kicked out probably 3 or 4 times over. And granted, the reserves has the reputation of being a little more lax on standards, and I think there's some merit to that because I do believe that where the reserves don't necessarily bring the lethality element, they do bring, at least in the PSYOP and CA realms. That's what I was before. They bring other experience.
Yeah.
They bring not just I am a soldier, I have 18, smash and kill and break. They bring real life to the battle, and in those truly human domains, I believe that that's absolutely necessary. So if you have a guy, granted, I don't think you should be a liability, but if you have a guy who perhaps struggles and isn't necessarily crushing it, but has a really high acumen in a very specific area, say engineering or policing or something, something that can actually contribute to the human domain, then there are certain provisions that can be made.
Yeah.
Maybe not to the letter of the law, but the spirit of the law for certain. And they 100% did that for me. And I think that really has played into the angle that I try to attack things with is to your point earlier where we would say, oh, we don't want you if you're not the athlete. I fully agree with that. We don't want you as you are.
Yeah.
But there is a reality in the future where you can become that. It is a choice in many, and if it's not a choice, you say it's a medical condition or something like that, then, we thank you for having had the guts to inquire, having the guts to try. But by and large, if it's just being out of shape or, not necessarily being the physical specimen, which I still am not, there are still heights you can reach and you can be shoulder to shoulder with giants. And I truly believe that. And they allowed me that kind of grace, in a culture. So I joined in 2013, mid GWAT.
Yeah.
Like I said, granted, it was the reserves, but my first sergeant was on the mission to hunt Saddam as a reservist. And my debt sergeant had, been in a lot of ticks as a reservist. And there was this wealth of experience with the senior NCOs, and they showed me grace. And I'll be forever thankful to them for that. And I think that kind of grace can be applied in a tough love. And I always say, I wish they would have been meaner to me. I wish they would be like, hey, fatty, get yourself straight, man. But they were always so supportive. Hey, man, you got this next month. I know you said this time, but this next time you have to have it. And that continued. So they said, well, we can't sweep this under the rug any longer. We're going to chapter you. And that obviously weighed on me, but even that wasn't enough. The final nail in the coffin was, of course, a girl. So
a tale as old as time.
And funny you say it in that accent. The irony. So I've had a million jobs, and that was one of these summers, one of the last summers that I worked at a Renaissance fair.
Nice.
Extra money. Yeah, very cool. I didn't do the accents. I didn't. So I pushed a
good day, milady.
Yeah, exactly. Oh gosh, I couldn't stand those guys.
With the fedora hat.
I saw things that people are not meant to see. Uh, like dark web level content. This is these people are allowed to be on public. It's but so I actually pushed a kid's ride, like we called it the flying carousel, and it had these hammocks that would spin around when they cranked it by. It was actually a very physical job. I really enjoyed it. You got to kind of mess with people all day, decent pay, under the table, tax free, just
Yeah.
like it. And there was a girl from my high school that I was, hey, you should come work for this company, make some extra money this summer while you're home, and it'll be great. She lived in the hometown during summer, so I was like, you could ride with me, it'd be cool. And of course, silly little leaf fell for her over the course of the summer. And at the end of the work season, we were at a party, and I've never been much of a drinker, but this is one of those reasons why. This evening, I happened to be drinking, and I went in for that lovely kiss, and she gave me the Drake hand.
Oh, yeah.
Oh no! And my stomach just turned, and she said, "No, I'm so sorry. I don't." And I said, "No, you know, I knew it right there. I said, there's nothing to be sorry about. No, you can't help." And I knew why. I said, you can't help what I am. And the next morning I started running. I hauled my rear end of the gym, and I was like, dude, it never happened to me again. I
This
was
is a Rocky music montage.
yeah, no, seriously, I was so embarrassed.
Yeah.
And it was not long after that the coffee shop incident happened, where I got hungry and decided to realize that. It is good a reason as any, I figure.
It's so relatable though. You ask any Green Beret, or hell, any paratrooper, infantryman, or service member that deployed and had to endure a long distance relationship that turned into heartbreak, and for the rest of that deployment, it's nothing but caffeine, hate, nicotine, and workouts, because you were damned if you were going to show back up home not looking like $1,000,000.
And there was actually this what are the blogs called? I can't even remember what. Not Tumblr. It was one of the old school blogs. Again, I'm dating myself here with this, but it was called "How to Lose Weight in 4 Easy Steps." And for anyone listening, I highly recommend going and reading it. And it's written a little softer than current me likes, but it was like step 1, cut carbs. Step 2, no beer, alcohol is bad for you. And step
Yeah.
3, have your heart shattered into a million tiny little pieces. And then he goes into the story about his heart getting shattered, and it was like hot. It's actually like really a beautiful tale. Very descriptive. And I would read that every single morning and just work myself up and get so mad. And not at her. It was not.
Yeah.
To be clear, it was not her fault. You can't help not being attracted to the chubby kid.
Yeah.
And I fueled myself with not a hatred of. It wasn't a self-loathing, because I don't think that that's very productive. But it was a hatred of circumstance, and I knew that that circumstance was my own fault. But with the knowledge that your bad circumstances are your fault comes the knowledge that the good circumstances can also be your fault. And that to me it was one of the most freeing revelations ever. This is all within my control. My it's cliche. It's as old as writing itself, but your path is, you can't determine where you start. People start at varying places, and there are people who start way behind and people who start way ahead in all walks of life. But I genuinely, especially in this day and age, do not believe in barriers. Everyone has obstacles, but barriers really genuinely do not exist in the modern West, in such an open and unbelievably free and opportunistic society. And that's one of the most beautiful things ever, because about 99 billion out of 100 billion humans that have ever lived have not had that chance. So the fact that we have it, and a lot of people don't harness it, I think it's a tragedy.
Yeah.
And I feel like I owe it to myself, to my ancestors, to my family, to the philosophy of it, the notion of why endeavor? Because I should, because I can, you know.
Yeah. Do you, looking back, do you think that it was what factors were at play? Was it just a unhealthy relationship with food? Was it just like not wanting to be active? We always have this idea that it's just one single thing, but it for all of us, like this can happen to any young kid that's living in America today.
Yeah,
Like it's important to identify like all the little factors that add up to a complete lifestyle that just fucking takes hold of you.
absolutely. So, I mean, it started in childhood, and I will never, ever, ever be upset at how I was raised. I was shown a ridiculous amount of love, a ridiculous amount of care. But you go 2 generations back, and my family, you know, barely eked out survival in the Great Depression.
Yeah.
And so when you don't have anything, what's the quickest way you can show your
Show love,
11 children that you love them? It's food.
food.
Oh, and then those kids learned, oh, what's the way I can show my family I love them? Food. And then my parents' generation learned, oh, food is the way to the heart. I mean, it is, you know.
And yeah, yeah.
Even a romance, a woman cooks a good meal for you, you're like, oh my gosh, this is it, man. Um, but so I was shown love through food, and I I've tried to analyze it, as much as I can, and probably overthink it, but it wasn't so much a need for satiation. I was greedy with the sensation, the flavor. I'm my team makes fun of me all the time. I'm a huge foodie. I'm absolutely obsessed with finding new foods, finding the best foods. Um, I'm definitely a snob about it, and
Yeah.
I accepted that. And I think as long as you're self-aware, it's admissible.
Bro, you should. In
Yeah,
this career
exactly,
field,
exactly. With an
I
opportunity,
yeah, dude, I've
yeah.
gotten to eat at places. Let me ask you this, and I already know the answer.
Yep.
Anthony Bourdain, where does he rank in your list of heroes?
So funny enough, I never got into Anthony Bourdain. I
Ah,
I really liked Andrew Zimmern when I was
okay.
younger.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
For some reason, I found him just more relatable. As bad as it sounds, Anthony Bourdain struck me as the I bought a Corvette, divorced my wife, listened to Disturbed.
He was my foodie.
Yeah, yeah,
Dude, on one of our trips, I remember me and another teammate, we were
yeah,
like hunting down all the places that he had gone to in Peru.
cool.
And we're like, dude, this is it. Like
Yeah,
travel the world, friggin'
yeah,
drink great friggin' wine,
yeah,
allegedly,
yeah.
smoke cigarettes, like just living life. And
Right.
food is that gateway to adventure.
It
If you
is
allow yourself to explore culture, like having beef hearts in the middle of nowhere in Peru, like just friggin' with the people, you're like, dude, this is 5-star meal in the friggin' jungles of
yeah,
Peru. And we get to do this for a living.
exactly. I genuinely believe the two quickest ways to understanding and breaking cultural barriers is through food and speech,
Yeah.
language. Um, man, I will go to the ends of the earth for the next good food. Uh, but as far as Anthony Bourdain, I haven't read his books. I did see his documentary, um, and I gained a new respect for the guy.
Yeah.
I've been, it's one of those things where I hate to say, oh, I don't have time. I haven't prioritized reading his books,
Yeah. Yeah.
getting into his show. It just has not been high on my priority list, but like all things, I have good intentions to create. Yeah.
Dude, how do you find yourself mentoring others through this social media space? Is like I think that one of the unique things about people that have done hard things, especially in the world of soft, I have run into so many guys that have overcome challenges, rough upbringings, difficulty, maybe with a disability after service, and they
Yeah.
don't want to just hold on to their recovery on their own or their journey of recovery on their own. They want to reach into the void and help others find, whether it's a civilian or somebody that serves along them or somebody within the veteran community, to try to help and inspire the same sort of like growth in others. How do you do that through social media?
Well, I I specifically say on my profile, not a soft mentor.
Yeah.
I don't believe I'm at the point where I could even be considered a mentor. So I spent 7.5 years in the reserves, and I've only been in regiment for about 2 years. So I'm not a senior guy. You know,
Yeah.
I have all this combat experience. I don't have the resume to be considered a mentor. Um, what I do try my best to do is just talk to people how I wish I was talked to.
Mm.
I'm sure as you came up, you encountered some Green Berets or, maybe some people in a cool unit or just someone you looked up to. And they were, they're too cool for school. You're like, yeah, you'll find out when you get there, kid. It's all a mystery. Um, and I didn't think that was right. Because I did work with some GBs as a little side reservist, and they were so cool. I'll never forget Bob. He was a spitting image of Alex Jones, had every tab and badge ever. He was a master sergeant, and he just had this smirk that was so cool all the time. And PV2 Lee said, "Morning, Bob." "Hey, morning, Lee." I couldn't believe that this master sergeant was letting me call him by his first name. I was like, I gotta be like that guy. He's so cool. Um, and then, going through the course, uh, there were a lot of really, really, man, just phenomenal instructors that I had. Um, whom I wish I could name so badly just to give them their due. Um, but a couple of them will listen to this and they'll know I'm talking about them. And they just made the learning process so enjoyable. I came into it expecting for it to just be a sleigh fest all the time. And at times it absolutely was
Yeah.
by design. But the best instructors that I had, the ones that made me want to work the hardest, to break my back, to prove to them that I was good enough, were the guys who were personable, the guys who were genuine. When I was in the small unit tactics phase, I had one cadre um, who I did not like. And so I had a buddy who had an incident in the field that wasn't even a real incident. And somebody drew up an incident report about it. Again, not being specifically vague. And he was going to go to a board, and they were a removal board from the Q course. And I was like, whoa, this is unbelievable. This guy's too good. I've been with him for 2 years now. He's a jujitsu guy. He was prior MSRT in the Coast Guard. He was a phenomenal, phenomenal guy. And I was like, there's no way I can let him, take this bullet. And so I went to cadre came and anybody got any questions? I said, yeah, so I talk to you offline. He said, yeah, what's up, man? I said, well, I would like to write a letter of character for my friend because I want to help him. I know it's just like a pretty big deal, and I don't want him getting kicked out. I don't think he deserves to. And he goes, "You think I don't see what you're doing?" I was like, "What?" All military bearing laws. I was like, huh? And he's like, you think I don't see through your facade? I know what you're trying to do, dude. You're trying to psyop me because you knew I was psyop before. I was like, oh, what? And he goes, you think you can make yourself look good by helping others? No, I see right through it, idiot. And I went to the cadre who was really personable. I said, so do you guys really believe this about me? Is this what you guys think? He's like, no, absolutely not, dude. That guy sucks. I was like, oh, thank God. I was like, because dude, I don't know what he thought. I got taught in the reserves, but if I was that good, I would be at a different organization right now.
You're not getting rid of my friend.
Yeah, exactly. He will stay. What? Come on, man. And and that guy that just dogged me for genuinely wanting to help, I hated that guy. And anything he said, you do your little resistance, and I'm not gonna do this,
Yeah.
But the guy that was super cool, he's like, here, I'm a sergeant. After this, I'm just your bro, and he still is my bro. That guy, man, he gave us like critical feedback and a negative feedback.
Yeah.
Crushed my soul. I said, there's no way he thinks that about us. I cannot let this guy down. And so again, I'm rambling at this point, but that's what I try to do as far as the mentorship piece is just tell dudes what I would have wanted to have been told, which is, in my opinion, is again that empathetic tough love.
Yeah.
You know, as I'm sure you have, your young aspirants will be, they'll message me and, hey, oh, man, I really got this relationship, or I've got this thing, or I've got this, there's they give me a laundry list of the factors of their entire life that are going into their decision of whether they should go to selection or what they should, I say, dude, I I can't read all that.
Yeah.
So much context. You are living your life, man. You need to make this decision. You're either going to do it or you're not. No amount of enthusiastic words I give you, no amount of encouragement is going to make you sign that line. It's going to make you step into the gauntlet. You are either going to do it or you're not.
Yeah.
Of course, you're afraid of failure. All of us are. The toughest guy out there, the Captain America that you see in line at selection, the guy that you're like, whoa, man, that guy's got it. He's afraid to. He might be confident, but he knows that there are holes out of Camp McCall that you can snap your ankle in. He knows that there are, copperheads waiting in the little swamps in Scuba Road, which I never crossed. Hallelujah.
Yeah,
And
I did that bitch twice.
I'll be honest, I'm a diva. When I land nab, I do not cross draws. I'm 6'3", so I got a long stride. I will walk 12K extra to not cross a draw.
I'm the other way around.
I pay for myself. Oh, you're a dead reckoner.
I'm the other way around,
Oh,
man. I will get naked to get across water and then dress on the other side and then go through. I'm a true 18 Bravo. I might have gotten out as a warrant, but I'm a true 18 Bravo. What's the closest route there? You got to go through hell. All right, I'll see you on the other side.
Yeah. And look, well, we should take a casual stroll along the side, so we don't have to dip our feet in the mucky pool.
Where's Denny? He's trying to float through the other side of the lake.
Seriously, yeah. He built himself a raft. It's actually pretty good. So yeah, I try to give guys advice that's real, that is encouraging in a way that it leaves decisions and power in their hands.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I had this setback. Okay, what are you doing to fix it? What steps are you taking? Has every door closed to you? And if it hasn't, then keep knocking, man.
Yeah.
And if that door closes, knock on the next one. And I think, I don't know, and I could be off base, but I think people gravitate towards that because we live in an age where they're either so under encouraged, it's ridiculous. There is such a distinct lack of support. Everyone acts like we're all adversarial to each other and they just tear each other down. And so they've never had, especially a lot of people who come from broken homes, which is a soft archetype.
Yep.
These guys never had fatherly encouragement. They never had male teachers that told them, hey man, you could be worth something. If you decide you can, and the decisions are obviously moment to moment, but it's either that or it's the coddling. You're the greatest thing that's ever happened. You're so perfect. There's nothing wrong with you. You should be accepted exactly as you are. And
those guys make the worst Green Berets.
Oh man. And I think, I think that those kinds of people make the worst citizens because they think that they're supposed to be placated to, and they believe that everyone is supposed to adapt to them. So, everyone says, treat others how you want to be treated. What? Why would I do that? Not everyone wants to be treated like I want to be treated. Maybe I should treat them how I think they feel they deserve they should be treated. I'm the same for everyone. And these big aphorisms. You're the same for everyone? So you kiss your grandmother on the lips? Oh, no. Oh, you reserve that side of you for your wife. Okay. Oh, you scream and yell at your boss? Oh, no, you reserve that for your Xbox friends. It's like, you're not the same for everyone. So A, don't lie. And B, you probably shouldn't be, because everyone that you come into contact with, especially the ones you care about, deserves the parts of you that are most advantageous for them. And when you start offering bits of yourself, that benefit others, you're going to find benefit out of them as well. And I wholeheartedly believe that. So that's also one of the things I try to, um, get across to guys is like, you might think you are all that. You might think that you're this, you're so good, and that you're owed things, but you're really not. It's the inverse. You owe people. You owe it to everyone that you claim to care about to be the best. And if like that doesn't motivate you, I have no idea what awesome could.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't like the title mentor. I don't feel like one. Um, I don't feel I have enough experience or tenure or anything like that. Maybe someday, but I guess that's how I try to help out.
Now I will push back on that just a little bit and hear me out.
Yeah.
I think that when I started helping a lot of people, I reached out to one of my mentors and I asked him like, "Hey, how do you know that you're ready to be a coach and help out people and like not just one or two, but like in groups and like do I have that experience?" And he told me straight up, he's like, "You just need to be a little bit better than what you're the person you're helping at something. If you're helping somebody with meditation and mindfulness, they're a beginner and you're proficient and you're still learning and you're still getting more knowledge. Like you don't have to have the answers to every question and every problem. You just have to be willing to help and guide somebody on their journey." And I think what we forget as young men is like we are a powerful force for good when we're walking a good path. You don't have to walk a righteous path. We're all sinners. We're all trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
But if you know that what you're doing is working and you're seeing success and it's you have proof and there's proof in what you're doing day to day, then yeah, I think you have enough to look back and the line of men that are waiting to come in and say, "Hey, like I don't know the entirety of this journey. I'm still on it myself, but I know what it takes to get here. And if you want, we can have a cup of coffee." Because one thing that I always had is sort of these chance encounters with older, ragged Green Berets. Maybe they were a little bit, rough around the edges, and the conversation didn't start as well as one would have thought it should have as a young 82nd paratrooper. But at the very end of the conversation, and there was that, "Hey, you should try it, give it a try, go for it." I was about your age when I went through it, but I didn't have that commonality of a young Green Beret saying, "Yeah, man, dude, selection, you can do it." It was a lot of us at the unit level that were just scared and wanting something great. And we're like, "Fuck it, let's try it. Let's try it." But I think if we would have had that younger Green Beret that had just graduated the Q course, had a couple of years in on a team that was humble enough to say, "Hey, man, I was just like you a few years ago. I was in 254, or yeah, man, I was in 173rd, dude. You can do this." Like that, that's huge for the regiment because let's face it, nobody wants to talk to fucking CW3 or CW4. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. I think one of the how do I phrase it? One of the issues I believe we face is that we start to believe in the facade that we give to others because
yeah,
we have to have it. I have to be big, strong man all the time. I have
yep,
to be, when partners see me, they have to be confident that this guy can haul
absolutely.
himself anywhere. He can comport himself anywhere. He can do anything. I'm a UCOM guy, so I'm in situations all the time where my partners, especially in more niche areas, are as or way more capable than I am. I was working with some EOD guys from a couple of different countries last year, and these guys have forgotten more about demolitions than I will ever know. And yet, I'm the one get instructing the course. I'm the
Yeah.
one making the course material, and we there was a moment where we were just shadowing this foreign hosted course, and it was a wreck. It was a mess organizationally. The content was phenomenal. I could not believe I was like, this is more than I've ever learned. You know,
Yeah.
I'm going to be a student in this, but the organization left something to be desired. Namely, there was no base foundation for our students. And I raised my hand and I said, well, I think I could really contribute and change some things. And I don't know nearly as much as these guys do, but I had to be able to exude the confidence that I'm here on behalf of the United States and I do know what I'm talking about. And luckily, the changes were well received because they were not content based; they were format based. But being able to have that train is very important.
Yeah.
But with that, a lot of, and I won't even just say Green Berets, a lot of special operations, and really, and I don't even want to paint with that brush. It's any high performing sector, any high performing job, you know, people are going to build their own ego,
Yeah.
especially when they don't fail. And that, in my opinion, is one of the great successes that I had early in my career. Not on my part, but on behalf of the people who instructed me, it was they gave me the bandwidth to fail safely. And those failures, oh my God, they humbled me. I'll never forget the first one that I had um, was during a training mission for PSYOP. I realized I didn't say psychological operations for anyone who doesn't know. We were instructed to meet with this village leader, and I was the guy in charge. I was the attachment leader, you know, student, private sergeant Lee. Well, I was like, I'm the guy. I'm going to talk to this guy. We're going to get him on the U.S.'s side, and everything's going to be hunky dory. And that was mission focused, laser focused on the mission. And we rolled up in very typical new trainee fashion with no semblance of order. And I started talking to the role player, and he's like, put your guns away. Like, you don't need guns. I'm like, okay. So I hand off my gun. Easy money. Now we can talk. Now we can be gentlemen with each other. And he's like, we don't like your women being around here. Make them go with our women. I was like, okay, he's not comfortable with you guys being here. Like, you gotta go elsewhere. And I will never forget the look of betrayal on my friend's face. She said, are you serious? Like, yeah, you gotta go. I gotta talk to this guy. And so the female role player sequestered them away. Yeah, even saying, I'm embarrassed. I was so focused. I was like, the mission is everything. I have to get this done. And the scenario ended up with every single person in my squad was, you know, militaristically killed except for me. And, you know, unbelievable fail. Like, they specifically spared my life in the scenario. And that instructor, you know, ripped me to pieces. He said, you're going to write a letter to every single one of your squad mates' families and tell them why you got their kid killed and tell them what you did wrong and why it was your fault. And I, you know, 18 years old, emotionally, a mess or ball in my eyes. I'm like, but what? And I'll know, I asked him, I said, what does a leader do in this kind of situation? He said, exactly what we're doing. You think I could live with myself if I allowed some mistake like that to happen? Hit me up. You're right. I can never put anything above these people ever again. But so to circle that back, it's, you know, you have to be able to fail.
Yep.
And I think a lot of that's what selection is. You know, that's parts of the Q course are. Is they they give you unwinnable situations, and I think that's a distinct privilege that we have in the military that I don't think a lot of people acknowledge. Is we are thrust in these situations that are designed to make us fail, to see how we'll react to it. And if you don't do that early and you don't continue to do it, you don't do it often, you just end up believing in your own ego. The hubris consumes you.
Yep.
And then you think that anybody who hasn't achieved what you've achieved, that doesn't have the accolade, that doesn't have the title, is beneath you. And, you know, what kind of reality is that? Just, you know, you don't know what opportunities people have gotten and haven't gotten, or what opportunities they might have yet. So circling way back, I think that that's probably one of the biggest cultural problems with special operations as a whole is We believe in our mythology, and our mythology is cool, man. I'm obsessed with it. It's awesome. Uh, we walk in the shadows of giants every day, but there is so much more to be done. There's so many more. There's summits and peaks, and it never
Yeah.
ends. And I think that attitude has to be at the forefront. I write a little um, section every morning. I guess you could say a little reflection piece um, on the page, and what people realize or not, every day I'm writing to myself. They pertain usually directly to what I'm experiencing, to what I'm feeling, what I'm going through, and it's me talking to me. So again, I'm just trying to tell people what I would want to hear.
Yeah.
Um, and again, I'm honored by your words. I don't think that necessarily makes me a mentor, but in addendum, I don't think that the Green Beret makes me valuable as someone to listen to. What I believe is that in some way I was able to display value, and that's what allowed me to win the Green Beret. And
Yeah.
that is a mindset that can be adopted in so many spheres, not just special operations, but applying to colleges, applying to jobs, acquiring skills. Is that, these titles that we're seeking, the labels that we want selfishly, our ego wants others to give us. That's not what breeds the value. You being the person worthy of that label, worthy of that title, that's the value itself. Um, in the same vein that, everyone wants to be in good shape and, look really good and like, oh, it's so valuable. Well, it's not just because of how it looks, but it's because of what it says about the person who had the discipline, the gumption, and the gall to suffer and put themselves through that willingly to achieve a certain goal. And it's visually palpable.
Yep. Absolutely, brother.
You know,
And Lee, I can't thank you enough for being here today. It's great to connect with you and have, a conversation with somebody that's still there with the right mentality. And I will tell you right now, I've been doing this for a little bit now, and I've talked with a lot of friends that are already out or on their way out, and they always say, "Man, I wish I would have been able to do this a little different." 'Cause, hindsight's 2020. But when we all reflect and we sit back and we talk about the way we wish we would have been and the things we wish we would have done, it reflects back to a lot of the things that you're doing now. And I would 100% like to say that from a lot of us that are on the outside, the regiment is in good hands with individuals such as yourself that understand that, yeah, the Green Beret is something that we earn each and every single day, and we're never going to forget that lesson. And it's a wonderful thing to see somebody that understands that and is continuing to champion that ideology, uh, especially in a new age, and putting it out there for the world to see. Because it's not about just graduating one day and you're just the greatest thing in the world. No, you're striving for that greatness each and every day, man. And your content's great, but what you bring to the regiment's even better. If people want to look at your positive memes and the culture that you're trying to promote, where can they go?
so Instagram, it's 18 as in the number 18, good guy, all one word. I do a website, 18goodguy.com. It's usually, I have merchandise on there from time to time. I don't take any profit from it. Every bit I make above the actual cost of the item either goes into new stuff or gets donated to charity. So if they're interested in that, they can check that out. And if you're one of those guys that's listening and you don't know where to start with like fitness or anything like that, I've got a free workout program on there to help people get started. It's definitely not the workout program that's going to be selected, but if you don't know where to start, it's a jumping off point. And I encourage people to send me a message, whether through the website or the page or whatever. I answer every single message that comes through, much to the chagrin of my schedule sometimes. But it's something that selfishly enlivens me. I really enjoy it, and I want to keep doing it for the foreseeable future.
Hell yeah, brother Lee. It's an absolute pleasure. You guys tune in. Go to the episode description, click on the links, go hang out with Lee on social media and follow him along his journey and get some of those knowledge bombs that he drops from time to time. But even more importantly, you sons of bitches, head on over to Apple Podcasts and leave me a 5-star review. Write a few words. Doesn't have to be anything long. I'm not asking for a 5-page or 5-paragraph op order. I'm just one word, bananas, or fucking dude's cool, has cool people on the show. Anything. 5 stars. It's all I'm fucking asking you people. This production takes a lot out of my day. I just need a little bit of fucking satisfaction. Head on over there or Spotify, leave us a review there as well, or go to YouTube and subscribe there. The videos are getting edited by a third-party contractor now. Sweet Indian guy, Wahid. He would appreciate it if you left some reviews on there to tell him how much you like his work. Thank you all for tuning in. I really appreciate it. And take care of yourselves and each other. Till then, take care. Bye. Boom.
Yeah.